think we're still trying to figure that out as we go. It's so new to us, and there are no standards that have been set. When you worked in traditional media, whether it was radio, TV, or print, we kind of knew what we were dealing with, and because standards had been set. Now, in the last even 5 years, it keeps with the digital assets that have shown up. It keeps changing. We're trying to wrap our arms around what that is and kind of define ourselves what that is. And that's one of the biggest challenges that I face in my job as the director of the broadcasting group. And then these guys here have to know how to embrace and activate what we're trying to do. And I equate it right now to kind of like throwing spaghetti up against the wall. We don't know what works, what doesn't work. There isn't a lot of data. We know that people are consuming, but there's so many different platforms out there that we're trying to figure out what works best for us. And we're gonna, I never like, but I'm sure there's going to be some trial and error that comes along the way, and we'll learn from that as far as what it is digitally that we're going to do. And my mantra myself is adapt or die. We're old fogies in the business now. We've been established for many decades, and if we don't adapt, there's somebody right behind us that will and can, and then we become obsolete.
Yeah, I look at it two ways: as being in broadcasting, but also as a viewer or a listener. I like the idea of social media. I like the idea of information that you can get. I think it's easier. I think when I first started with the Orlando Magic in 1989, and the preparation is completely different. I know when the NBA started fax back, we thought that was the greatest thing, is we could get anybody's information by dialing and getting it over the fax. And now, with the preparation, I think it's easier.
You all know what a fax is?
He said we were old, right? So the preparation is there. I like that. I like all that information. I like to be able, on a Twitter feed, to learn about other teams and what's going on, whether it's the NBA or something else. I think it helps even when you're doing, if it's not the NBA, whether it's, we have the American Hockey League and the WNBA with Rampage and the Stars, and even now, the Austin Spurs that are in the D League. That information is now available. I think it helps. I think the other thing is, I don't watch a game the same way I used to. I watch the game now with my phone or the iPad in front of me, and it's that instant feedback that you get. Something happens, and I want to hear or I want to read. If it's something embarrassing, I'm going to read it. If it's something thrilling, I want to read it. I remember how it blew up when the lights went out in the Super Bowl. But that's now a part, and what Kit was talking about, that's now part of our broadcast. We think along the lines of the second screen. It don't fight technology. I don't think you can. I'm with Kit, adapt or die. I want to keep my job. So, how do I do that? You have to adapt. But I try to embrace, how can I use this to my advantage? That's the big thing. I don't know how you filter. I don't know how you filter the, Twitter. It's 140 characters, and the anonymity is hard. In a way, though, it kind of gives us feedback that we hadn't had before, just on the broadcasting end. So there's that connection. I think is good. I really do. Again, for me, I like to embrace it as a tool. How can I get better? How can I use those resources? And I think it's been helpful.
Rather than just echo what these two guys have said, the only thing I would add on that is that the hard part for me is there's still, with Twitter and so many sources of information that are coming out, is what can you trust many times that is actually the truth. And there's such a fight to get everything out immediately. And what really scared me when Dick was with me a couple of years ago, this was even, I won't mention his name because I respect him too much, and he didn't intend it this way, but a very respected reporter. We were at an NBA broadcast seminar, and he got up and spoke, and he had come from print media to television. and was saying basically, you must get information out as soon as possible. If not, you're going to beat me with it, or you're going to beat me with it. And yes, you need to make sure it's right, but it's more important that you get it out first than it's correct. I mean, it's basically how he said it. And Kick and I looked at each other and went, are you kidding me? This is coming from this guy? And he is very reputable, but it's like, and I think there's a lot of people that it can be as simple as standing around an interview and say Larry's the coach, and you're sitting back there and you hear him say something in a pregame interview about something. Maybe you didn't quite hear it right, boy, you're tweeting it right away. And then you find out 30 minutes later, oh, he didn't say that. Well, it's already out there. And that's the part that I have a problem with. But you must embrace it. You must, even older people like me, do better or you'll just be left behind. Because another example of where Tony Parker, I can remember a game, it was a year or two ago, he'd been banged up and we didn't know if he was going to play or not. And at the shoot around the day of the game, Pop meets with all the reporters briefly, and they said, well, what about Tony? Is he going to play tonight? And he said, well, he worked out, but it's going to be a game time decision. We'll see what he looks like when he gets to the arena tonight. Tony, on his way home from the shoot around, tweeted, ready to go, I'll be playing tonight. I mean, and the Spurs are about as close group as there is as far as doing it right and the right protocol, but you still have the right as an individual. You know, he's putting out and letting people know. So you better pay attention to all of that because there is great information out there, but it does scare me a little bit about how things just get taken away too many times.
We all know that the Spurs are at the top of the heap right now, and they've been the winningest franchise in pro sports. So I know these three guys are very happy to be associated with a team that's winning. But it's still tough to get fans these days for broadcasts. So many challenges. Some of the people that are in my classes know we've talked about, just again, fragmentation of audience. But the Spurs have consistently rated at the top or near the top of all the ratings across the league always. Again, what are the challenges? It might seem easy right now when you're reigning world champs, but what are the challenges that you all face regularly for that, as you've said before, fan affinity and growing the audience with younger viewers as well?
It's such a hard, broad question because the success of the team has obviously helped the success of our ratings, but we also would like to think and hope that we're building, that affinity to where it carries. So if the team ever does, we're not going to have that big of a drop off. And part of my deal is kind of knowing the way San Antonio is as far as the viewership and how the viewers seem to latch on when they watch news to the anchors that have been around for a long time. Ken's was a great example of that, having Chris Maru and Dan Cook for years. And they were #1 in the ratings, just they killed it. So my strategy on that was, well, let's put people in place that will stay in place and that people like. And that's what we did with Bill, John, Andrew. We aimed for consistency, and I think that was our strategy in hoping that if the Spurs do slip at some point, hopefully not, but if they do, the affinity with even our announcers, will help hold on to the audience.
You go this time.
Well, the only thing if the team is winning, we're all in trouble. I mean, I think that's huge. San Antonio, I think, as Kick saying, it's an unusual market because there's just one major league franchise there. The fans are so loyal, so into the team. As far as the telecast, I don't really worry about the ratings because there's nothing that I can do other than just try to do my job to the best of my ability. And that means to treasure the opportunity I've got to speak to so many people every night and work with a great crew. We've got a terrific group that we work with. And just as Larry was saying a little bit about the team and the chemistry they have, we have meetings every day on game day, we talk about things, and there's nobody that's offended if someone says, you know, I thought we went the wrong way the other night when we went down this avenue, or we kind of got off track and we should come back to the game, or hey, the game was a 25-point blowout. Why are we describing the intricacies of a backdoor layup when we should have been talking about broader issues there? Or maybe it's a production element that Kick or one of these guys is saying we should have done this or that. And so we're open to criticism from ourselves and that type of thing. And we're lucky that we've got Sean Elliott. I mean, Sean not only was a great player, he's a great person. I really think that it'd be interesting if you did a survey among just people in San Antonio and said, who is the face of the San Antonio Spurs, and you put him up there with Tim and Manu, then how many people might say Sean Elliott, because he's seen on television every night and he's got such a great outlook. But I think the most important thing is being prepared and we have fun and realize that hopefully it's a lighter time in everybody's day when they tune into the games. And if we can't enjoy ourselves, then how are people at home going to enjoy ourselves? And do that without getting silly or over the top. And there again, that kind of helps us that we've got guys in the truck that go, hey, enough. You know, and if you can hear what's talk back in our ears, probably a better show than what you hear on the ears sometimes.
This guy's not going to say it himself, but his, not just the reputation, but the way he and Sean get along. You know that these two want to be at the game. And I think that's important. You talk about likability, and I think that's it. It's not, for Bill, it's not, man, this is one of 60 games I have to do. It's not just an event. You know that he wants to be there. So, you know what, if the game starts going the wrong way for the Spurs, they're not going to pout. They're going to make it still be enjoyable. You know, if you tune in and you see that, oh gosh, they're down by 20, they're having fun, not poking fun there. But I think it's because they get along so well. And I think when you're watching, I think that's important. That's why I talk about the likability, about wanting to be there. Not over the top. You tell that they are enjoying it as much as hoping you will. Look, I've always said this. You invite us into your home. We can't barge in. You're inviting us. And I still think that's special. I still think television is special. I think at times it's getting broken down, but I think it's special. So you're inviting us. If you don't like us, you have the power to change that. But I think because Bill and Sean get along, because it could be something, look, I run up to Dallas and work with Rick Renner. I get along with Rick. I hope that comes across, that we are excited. We want to be a part of this. We want you to be a part of it. How can we teach you something? Can you enjoy yourself? Because we know ultimately we can't keep you there. And I think the rapport between Bill and Sean is strong. I think what he talks about, even though you don't see it, the rapport with us talking back to the truck and keeping it light, but also this guy needs credit for not just TV. He knows broadcasting. He's been the viewer, the listener. He's been in front of the mic. I think he understands our role, and I think that helps us get better. And there are times where he says, hey, you can do this better. And there are times he says, hey, that was very well done. And I think that helps for us. But I think that rapport between broadcasters, because I would tell you honestly, there are times where a game is on, I'm watching something else. If I don't like the broadcast crew, I don't watch. Because I know a little bit too much, but it's not going to be enjoyable for me. So I hope we always keep it enjoyable and like I said, the elements. And the dirty little secret is not all NBA crews get along. Not all broadcasting. So I'm with Bill. We have something special.
I think a good example is I'm a big sports fan. I gravitated to the San Francisco Giants and watched them a lot because I like their broadcast crew. They are fun. They're great to listen to. And I keep coming back because I like them. So that's what I aim for with these guys.
But if you don't like us and you do have a rating book, make sure you still put down the okay?
There's only a sprinkling of my students, veterans of some of my classes, where I rant constantly about the value of asking good questions for maximum response, certainly for TV and radio. But I would trust that most of the audience, Spurs fans or sports fans in general, And Greg Popovich has a reputation as the toughest interview in all sports. So I think most of you would think instantly, like, yeah, but they're on the Spurs team, so he's easy on them. But that's not necessarily the case. And so if I could get the three of you to again address how much Greg Popovich forces you all to bring your A game all the time just in dealing with him and his players.
Well, there's no doubt he can be the toughest interview that I've ever done, particularly for someone who, I don't know, probably do 20 interviews a year with him. And you never know what kind of mood he's going to be in. And it's not like, okay, it's the rest of the media round and you ask a stupid question and he gives you that look. Okay, you kind of shrivel up and walk away. Somebody else is going to pick up, no, I'm there for the next 3 minutes and you've got to come back with another one. But it does, first of all, I had to learn right from the beginning that none of it is ever personal. It seems sometimes the way he treats reporters, where it's not. But for the most part, you ask a good question, you will get a good response from him. There's times that he may not want to talk about a particular subject and he'll just pretty much refuse, but it's not because the question wasn't done properly. And I think, though, that goes back to, I've had the chance to come up here a couple of times and visit with Larry in the classes, and I know what he stresses about just good interviewing techniques, and I don't care how long you've been doing this, you certainly can fall back into traps of suggesting answers, and you get back to your basics of being open-ended, brief questions. Do not answer for the subject, regardless of who it is. Be ready to have another one in case it's an abrupt answer, but also be listening to where you can follow up that he took the interview somewhere. Well, oh wow, that's great. I'd love to go that avenue. And but keeps you on your toes. There's nothing wrong with that at all. I mean, it just makes you prepare and do your job better. And I think that anybody that deals with Pop in any aspect would tell you the same thing, no matter what it is. It could be the trainer, it could be the person that sets up travel or anything. They feel that he's watching everything and he keeps you on your toes. There's nothing wrong with that.
Can I tell the secret that we keep Yvette in the interview room? So that's the first person Pop sees. She's our stage manager. I'm with Bill. It's some of the best interviews are with Pop. I will say this, and I get asked this when we do interviews with radio stations during the playoffs. They always ask if we've been popped. I guess to get popped is now a verb. And the first thing I say is, we don't get or have to talk to Pop at the end of the first or third quarter. So we get the benefit of that. But what Kick has set up at home is Pop gets to come out of the locker room and right into that interview room. And it's a little more comfortable. He knows the people he's dealing with. The one thing, one thing that I appreciate, because I like to be able to be comfortable and get something out of the interview, make it conversational, is a simple suggestion to Kick for our pregame interviews. Can we wear lavs instead of one stick mic? And I just think it's more comfortable and it can be conversational. And I think the other thing is that interview with Pop is not about me. And I've always joked that there are only 3 people who care when I'm on TV. It's my wife, my son, and my daughter. And then once they learned that I was working with Sean Elliott, it was right out the window. But Kick is very good about making sure that it's conversational, that we are asking questions, that we aren't answering the question, but also to give him an idea that I think it would make me more comfortable and the interview more comfortable. And with Pop, I think it's that comfort factor. Bill has had to get Pop on the road, screen behind him, cameraman right there, when Pop's not comfortable and all the writers are waiting. So Kick would then say, you know what, can we get a room in the arena, remove that, make it more comfortable. But whether it's Pop or anyone, I think you have to understand that I may know the answer, but I think it's better if this person gives you that answer. I'd rather hear that person say it, he or she. And again, I think there are so many interviewers make it about them. So let me tell you how smart I am with this question. And Pop sees through that. I really do. But as much as you may think he's confrontational with Craig Sager, you saw the warmer side of Pop, you know, with the personal note that he gave to Craig Sager Jr. and how he does like Craig. But this is me talking. At times, Craig makes it about himself. And especially as a sideline person, you're a compliment to the broadcast. Still, the game's the thing. You're a compliment, and I think at times. So you can't put words in Pop's mouth. You know, he doesn't like that. And like Bill said, he can take you in a direction that's going to be fascinating, because when he, simple words for Pop, compete and professional, right? If he can talk about players who compete, talk about players who are professionals. Now he's giving you something that you may not know, certainly the fans don't know, and opens up. When he's good, when Pop is good, it's a great interview. There was one time when he got the new title. Remember when he got the new title, they rearranged, or I should say the new title, and started the interview by kind of saying something about, I think I introduced him as, usually we say, hey, you know, Pop. I said, like Greg Popovich, and he said, are we being formal? And I said, well, you're the something with Spurs Sports and Entertainment. And I hear a kick in my ear, though, go with it. Because Pop was being, I don't want to say playful, but we were seeing a different side. So I have a kick in my ear saying, go with it, keep this up. And it was that rapport. We saw a different side. So it's nice to have someone like this as opposed to a producer or director who doesn't understand that, saying, that's not what we want, start it all over. So he knew that we were getting something, again, because he knows broadcasting, and this is good. It's also, hey, you're going in a good direction. You know, not so much don't mess it up, keep going with it. And it's nice to get that kind of feedback.
Yeah, he said to me one night, we were doing an interview with someone, I guess it was probably Andrew, that tossed it to me from the studio. We were on the road, and Andrew kind of tossed it because we came out of a break, it was kind of quick or whatever, and said, let's go back to Bill Lander at the arena. And I said, thanks, Andrew. You got Greg Popovich, coach of the Spurs here. Let's do the interview. And he was fine, got done with the interview. He goes, why would you introduce me? He said, don't you think the people that are watching this pretty well know who I am? And I was kind of like, well, I'm just broadcast techniques. I'm going to be interviewing somebody. I tell the people who it is. But you know, I started thinking about it. I said, I begrudge him. I guess you're right. So from now on, anytime I talk to him, it's just, hey, Pop. And it's like, people might say, well, why wouldn't you say his name? But our audience is the same. We're not on national TV. We're regional television. And so it's kind of crazy that that's what, again, where he keeps you on your toes, makes you think about things that you're going, what would I do that for? And he'll also give you, one time we were in Denver and he didn't fly out with the team. It was a Saturday game, and on Friday night he was being honored by his high school in Indiana, being put into their Hall of Fame. And so we were setting up to do the interview in this room. He was real relaxed talking. I said, so how was that last night? And he goes, oh, it was great fun. He said, all my old teammates back there, they stacked it all over me. He said, you know, it was good times, all that. And he looked at me and he just kind of goes, we don't want to talk about any of that. Got it? I mean, and not that I would have necessarily, but he just wanted to make sure that he was, I think what he was saying was, as far as I'm concerned, that has no importance to this telecast that you're doing or our game tonight. Even though I think people would have enjoyed hearing a little bit of the story, at times he's very protective of that side.
Want to open it up to questions from the audience, you know, whether it's specific to the Spurs or to sports broadcasting, world affairs, whatever. Okay. First question, John, by the way, is this still working? Okay, probably working. I'm going to probably walk around like game show host and stuff. Colin?
Okay, what are some of the toughest technical challenges of producing a game at home versus on the road?
The road's definitely a lot tougher to do than home. You know, we talked about our chemistry that we have. Well, I have a crew that I work with in San Antonio that's so good I can pretty much do it with my eyes shut. So I have trust, we have a feel, we have a flow. When you go to another city, it's not that these guys don't know what they're doing, but you just kind of have a certain style. And basically you have about 4 hours to teach them that style. So, you know, I scale things back a little bit, just play it conservatively. I mean, where we were talking about, or Andrew was talking about, you know, it's not about the interviewer, it's about the subject. I feel the same way. It's about the game and making sure that it's clean. It's not about the director or the producer. Our goal is to get you the cleanest product possible out there. So I might scale some things back, but it's all in effort to just keep it clean. And if the viewer at home doesn't know the difference, it's not our job.
And likewise, you're at the arena 6-7 hours, of course, before the game. We arrive on the road, particularly a couple hours before the game, and I can walk in the truck, or when I first see Kick or our producer Daniel Ashcraft, and I usually know within 10 seconds if there's a problem. I mean, just by the look in their face, they might go, hey, we got a rookie this and a rookie this. Don't be asking for a whole lot tonight. Let's just get out of here as clean as possible. Or, you know, we're asking about doing something. Oh yeah, we got so-and-so guys that we know, or gals that we know. It's like, we got a terrific crew. I mean, and they do a great job though of adjusting to whatever the situation is. A lot of times there's a fire going on in there, and Sean and I and Andrew, we have no clue because they just go ahead and put it out without telling us what's going on.
I think you just said the word adjustment. I think that goes for everything that we do. We talked earlier about the changing media. That's an adjustment. Live TV is nothing but one big adjustment. It never goes as scripted. And if you want to work by a script, you're screwed. Because if you don't have that flexibility to change on the fly, and that's where these two guys are just awesome. We'll say, you know, they might call for, you know, a Ginobili highlight or something like it's not cute, or, you know, the machine went down. Like, we don't have it. We'll tell them in their ear, and they'll just seamlessly shift on to something else. We don't have it, you know, go to Parker instead. And somehow or another, they think and talk, you know, so quickly and on the fly that they make that adjustment, and you might not even know that they're making that adjustment too, which is awesome. We love these guys.
Other questions?
An open question was, when did you all know you wanted to become sports broadcasting?
I've often thought, I don't know what else I would do. It's kind of.
I got to get a real job. I'm in big trouble. I mean, I listened when I was a kid growing up outside of Chicago. The Chicago Cubs were one of the first teams to have all their games televised, and I listened religiously to radio, and just my family was always into sports, older brothers. And I can remember when I was a little kid, the guy who did the high school play-by-play, I sat next to him when I was 6 and 7 years old, thinking, that seemed like a pretty cool deal, you know, and I quickly realized I wasn't going to be a professional athlete, so kind of launched onto it early, and just lucky to kind of follow that dream.
Yeah, writing, high school was big. I knew it maybe a little before that, but high school was big. Editor at the paper. We had a teacher, Robert Metzger, 11th, 12th grade. He used to work at NBC in the 60s and had such a connection that the old equipment from NBC they would send to our high school. So he set up a studio in that school. It was actually part of the English department. It was broadcasting. We would do newscasts, but we would also learn audio and how to run a camera and all that. So it's really nice to be hands-on, but it was pretty early that I wanted to do this. Combination of the writing, radio, and television.
Like Bill, except at a much earlier age, I realized I wasn't going to be a professional sport. So it was real early for me. Really and truly, I had a natural gravitated to watching announcers and liking announcers. Ron Franklin was the sportscaster in Houston when I was growing up, and I idolized him. I listened to Astros baseball, and it's like, I want to do something like this. Now it's from a very early age for me, so I didn't know where or how or what it was. And again, adjustments. When I was here, and I was going to be on air, I was going to be these guys, but it took me a different direction. I wound up realizing I was a better producer than I was talent, and I love it. It wasn't play-by-play, but next closest best thing, and I'm totally happy with it.
Other questions? Let me step back there. Keep this going on the live stream. And these can be collective questions or individual questions as well.
This is for Mr. Land. As a play-by-play announcer, your job is to present the sport in an unbiased perspective. When it in Game 6 of the 2013 finals, how do you elevate the professional duty above your level of the Spurs as a fan?
Well, I mean, we didn't get to televise those rejoins, but in general, my philosophy is it's different when you're working with a team than if you are. I'm still an employee of Fox Sports and done a ton of games in college and stuff where they're broadcast nationally or regionally, whatever. And I'm truly there as totally objective. I don't care what team wins. I care who wins when the Spurs play, and it's silly to ignore that. But I've always said that there's no reason you can't report objectively and still pull like crazy for the team to win. But if they're playing poorly, and that we're very fortunate there again, and part of that tribute to Kick's longevity with the franchise, they trust the broadcast department that we know how to walk that line, and then Sean's credibility with the team that, some people think nationally when they listen in on NBA Pass or whatever, Sean Elliott's his homer and this and that. We both are. What do you think we're doing there? Our audience is for the Spurs. But what they miss is when nights, how many times did the Spurs start off horrible? And Sean will just say, our guys aren't with it. They better pull it out. They are not focused right now. Well, I'll guarantee you, if you said that, or Sean said that, or I said that on some other teams, networks, we'd be reprimanded. Do not criticize our team. And I think that's where people miss the boat a little bit, that you can still pull like crazy for your team in a local or regional telecast, but you can report fairly. And I think the other thing to keep in mind in general, because you do work with a team in essence, regardless, because they control things, is that if the Spurs are playing great, are we bad-mouthing the Kings that night? No. Wow, Spurs have got 30 assists tonight, tremendous passing, so. Well, if they're getting hammered some night by the Houston Rockets, why do we think it's the Spurs are lousy? Hey, the Rockets are playing terrific tonight. I mean, that's the other angle. So there's got to be a little bit of a 50-50 in there sometimes.
Show of hands. Yes, fine.
What are some skills you guys would recommend for anybody looking to get in the field of sports media? Ever changing.
I'd say Kick's a good example of doing anything you can do. Don't worry at all about getting paid. I mean, for the most part, this business still is ridiculously underpaying, and hopefully you move your way up. But and also don't peg yourself. I mean, I thought I knew I wanted to be a Major League Baseball announcer and do play-by-play and that, but I had an English teacher that I still remember in 8th grade that I wrote some paper about sports or whatever, and she thought it was, and I was a very average English student. She sent it back home to my mother and father and told them that she thought I had potential in this field, and if I could clean up grammar and do some other things. Well, that made a huge impact on it. Also, maybe I'll be a sports writer. And from that point on, I kind of started thinking, don't just zero in on this and try everything, because it's important to find out what you don't want to do as it is to what you really want to do. And also, the more things you do, the more people you meet, you never know what door might open.
Exactly, and do anything and everything, and don't shun the campus experience. You're here to learn. And this is a great place to make mistakes as well. You're not professional yet. You can get the reps, and generally, if you're aggressive, you can do and eat up as much as you want. And I did that, and a bunch of my friends did that same thing. And we were able to get our reps, because reps mean everything. We did it across the board as far as whether it was print, radio, TV, it didn't matter. And then at the same time, like Bill said, you make contacts. If you're out there doing stuff, you're going to meet people. So it doesn't have to be, you don't have to have an internship with us or at a TV station to really get some great experience. The campus experience is really a great tool.
Last Friday, we had a panel here, actually in this room, with the University Star Institute Publication here. We were talking about other sports editors about objectivity in sports. And I kind of want to ask you guys, do you really think there's true objectivity when covering a game or covering sports?
Us having objectivity or the sports world now?
Just the sports world now.
It's changed along the lines of, I think, gone are the days of game story and sidebar. And you just don't do that anymore. Personally, I'm not sure it's for the better. Still not a big fan of reporters putting an agenda. I think the game story has changed, hasn't it? Because there's so many televised, you've kind of seen that, and they almost have to rewrite it. I still don't like reporters who put themselves in any kind of story, on camera, not a fan, or in print. I just think it's evolved with the way newspapers are. It's evolved. Like you can no longer have, this is what happened in the first inning, third inning, fifth inning, something like that. I think the game story itself has changed. Sidebars, I think what we were talking about with social media, sidebars for newspapers or for even online, I think those tidbits, to me, to show my age, it goes back to the old Sunday columns, when you would give a beat writer however many column inches, whether it was Peter Gammons of the Boston Globe or someone from the New York Star Ledger, you knew who was good, and you couldn't wait to read that, because that information on Sunday, NBA, Major League Baseball, NHL, you knew that. That's where your information. I think that is now more readily available. I think the game story has changed. The objectivity. See, writers covering a team, they're not working for the team. So to me, they can't be, well, they can do whatever they want, but they can't be cheerleaders for the team. And we can't expect, I don't think we can expect them to be cheerleaders for us. They're, they have their own logo in the upper left-hand corner of that check. So for a San Antonio writer to write something, if it's true, that's against the Spurs, may not like it, but that's his or her job. So I think you have to keep that objectivity. Sometimes it helps, it really does, to get out of your own market and work somewhere else. So you don't have, oh, I've always been a Spurs fan, but go work someplace else and be kind of looking at it from the outside. But I think honesty is important. I really do. If you can be honest, and again, don't be the story. You, the reporter, whatever. You're not the story. I think you become the story when you write well and you present the facts in a, it can still be in an entertaining way. I just think it's because of the newspaper industry and stuff like that, and even on camera, having to tell a story, or if you're doing it on radio, having to tell a story, depending on the guidelines. When I worked in Orlando, the station, no soundbite was over 20 seconds. And then that became 15 seconds. Stories got shorter and shorter. That made you get to the story quicker. So I think objectivity, though, is important. You don't always have to be liked. You know what I mean? But I think it's that respect of keeping that objective. When I say liked, they may not be popular. Not all columnists are liked, but it's what they do best.
Other questions? Yes.
I'll be fine.
We're just trying to stream here.
When interviewing foreign players, which make up a good portion of San Antonio Spurs, do you guys have to make adaptations to your new techniques to accommodate them?
I wish I spoke as well as Manu. I think he doesn't like me.
Well, Manu's terrific because you can see him when he's being interviewed, and I particularly notice this when, it's a group interview, right? He is really thinking that, how do I express this in English the right way? And I've seen some nights where, particularly in the playoffs, where you've got a lot of international journalists there, and somebody will grab and say, hey, can I get you for just a couple minutes in Spanish? And I don't understand a lot of it, but it flows because that's where he's more comfortable. But yeah, I think you have to, what I try to do, and I speak very fast, is slow down my delivery, make that question very direct, very open-ended. Kawhi Leonard, who's come a long way in the interview process, he would never want to do anything if you give him a choice. He's just a quiet guy by nature. But the last couple of interviews that I had a chance to do with him, I finally at least figured out enough that, hey, don't get too wordy, because if you suggest something to him, yeah, that sounds good to me. I mean, just, that's good. The way I talk about Kawhi, I always go, yeah, it's good. So ask him a question, what is it that you've done to improve this part of your game, or whatever it might be? And he's starting to figure out that, and he'll give you more of an answer. But and he's not international, of course, but he's so quiet, soft-spoken. But I think in general, with guys like that, Thiago Splitter from Brazil is another guy who doesn't go on and on. But I think you just have to be very direct with your questions. Make sure that they understand what you said, and don't use some word that they're kind of wondering, what does he mean by that? It's a challenge.
Like y'all were saying earlier, I know the Spurs are kind of unusual circumstance since y'all are the only team in such a major city. And I know y'all are also one of the top class acts in all of sports. So what do y'all do to improve y'all's community involvement, or do y'all attend certain events to really engage in the San Antonio community?
Through Silver and Black Give Back, which is through Spurs Sports and Entertainment. That's a combination. For me, my son just graduated, my daughter's in high school, so through their schools, for me personally, I have mentored someone, a kid that I coached when he was 9 years old. I continue to mentor him, even though that family has moved. And I've mentored other kids from middle school. I like to do a lot of things with the schools. It's along the lines of whether it is with journalism classes, things like that experience, and try to keep it as informal as possible. But one of the reasons why San Antonio is special, I think, is because of raising my children there. To me, I feel like it's a part of it. That was an important decision for me coming to San Antonio, because my family at the time, 6 years old, 3 years old, and because of the schools. So I enjoy getting involved because it makes it better for my family.
This is my 12th year being involved with the team in play-by-play capacity, but my family, we've only lived in San Antonio for 4 years. I was traveling back and forth out of Dallas and corporate housing. And so I haven't really done as much as I'd like to do community-wise. We try to do stuff that's involved, as Andrew said, with the Silver and Black and different charity things. And everybody's involved every year in the Habitat for Humanity, building of homes, that kind of stuff. But personally, I'd actually like to try to find something that I can kind of latch onto that I really feel that I can help make a bigger impact involving the team in that aspect. That's something I like to do. But the thing I do try to do is I love doing this kind of thing, because we were all sitting where you've been someday, and if there's any kind of help that we can provide people to get into the business or things to avoid, try to help them out.
Got one more question, and then I'll let Ryan have the last word, and before we give you all a chance to go by and greet the Spurs broadcasting. We hear a lot, and we even preach a lot in classes these days. You know, you might be working in a job that hasn't been created yet in 10 years, that kind of thing. So I would like to ask you at least to look in the crystal ball, maybe even 5 years down the line, what the sports broadcast entertainment world will look like and what could be new.
Before you answer that, tell them, can you remember the team how long?
24 years.
Ballpark on how many employees were the team when you started and what there are today?
I started, we were at Hemisphere Arena, and there were roughly 30 employees. And now, and actually, I came in on an expansion because of David Robinson. So before that, even 2 years before that, I think there were like 19 employees. Now, Spurs Sports Entertainment has over 300. So
It's good news for all of you.
yeah, great for you guys. So it's an ever-expanding field because one of the things is that sports is appointment viewing, and it's one of the things that's keeping cable alive. And I think as we become more mobile in our watching, there might be some sort of shift. This is kind of what we're keeping a close eye right now, is if the mobile experience for watching live games changes once we all start streaming our broadcast. I think that will have an effect within the next 5 years of whether how we present a game changes. It will change a lot. We've seen it change a lot. I can't wrap my head around what that is quite yet. But especially because of the marriage between sports and cable TV, once we kind of get a feel for how streaming and the portability of the game is, then we'll make our adjustments from there.
I'm wondering if it becomes more personal. Once the viewing goes from the TV, you're sitting back. And we're seeing it, I think, a little bit more on the bigger games, that you can isolate your own camera and watch the player you want. You can, the fantasy football aspect of it, piecemeal. It may not be the game, but you just want to see so-and-so because he's on your team. I'm wondering if now, for lack of a better phrase, will we allow viewers to be their own directors? And I think we make broadcasting even narrower. I think that's it. I would think in the sports landscape, I truly believe the D-League will go almost like minor league baseball. So opportunities of working with teams, I think you're going to see that expand. Minor league baseball is interesting. They got rid of the International League. There's just now 2. But there's still, there's still that one-on-one. Minor leagues is exploding, I think, for opportunities. Because I think we're seeing that you can make money first and foremost. But also the hands-on opportunity. 5 years I did minor league baseball, and I will say this: if you can work in minor league baseball, you can work in any sports. You really can. It's demanding, but it was a blast. But I think it's that kind of experience. So I think those kind of opportunities, I think Bill reminding Kick about how teams are getting larger, I think those opportunities are there and presenting itself that if you get those reps, find out what you want to do. If you can get that, I think that will mean so much more than allowing you to step into that sports landscape.
Yeah, the other thing I would add is you can look at the 2 things. The national championship in football last year, where they had other channels and they had local announcers. And then in the playoffs, where they had one of the rounds, I'm trying to remember what channel it was, that they had a lot more graphics on another channel. And who was it?
The Fox Sports one, they almost did like an analytical channel.
So you don't want to watch the telecast with the main crew, come over here, and they're into more analytic stuff and more conversational graphics and just stats and different things. I see more and more of that because with digital, There's all these channels out there, why not fill them up? And if they're still watching the same game, people are fighting for that.
That was my question.
One more from Kyle.
Just kind of wrap things up, what is the Spurs franchise and sports and entertainment broadcasting team, what are you guys getting ready to do, doing to get ready for the upcoming season, especially now with the high expectations?
Well, we always, at the end of each season, evaluate ourselves and look for strengths and what is it that we can do differently. I don't advocate change just to change things. I don't want to just go in there and rattle it up. Sometimes you might need that if things get dysfunctional. But we look back, we had a very successful year. Some of the things, again, I come back to it, where we're changing is on the digital side. We're pushing more content, features. We're starting a morning day of game session with Bill and Ann that we're going to stream every game day. We're working on second screen experiences, whether that's our social engagement or whether it's gaming. We're looking into that. And we've done beta test and we're going to roll it out during the year. Those are little things. So as far as some of the little bitty components, that's what we're looking at. I think strategically, we always look back at what worked and didn't work on our broadcast. And last year, Daniel Ashcraft, our producer, came in and he goes, "I love trivia." He goes, "We got to do trivia. Let's do a thing where it's we give the trivia question and it's Bill and Sean versus us in the truck." And we had a great time doing it. But we talked about it the other day. Well, the way we did it kind of ran its course. How can we change that? So we had a couple of ideas, and we'll work until basically last minute, fine-tuning some of these ideas. We just had a broadcast get together earlier this week to try to get everybody focused and kind of on the right track. I had a slight agenda of just some of the organizational goals and little points of interest that I want to make sure that the whole crew knew that were going to be enforced. And one of them was interviewing technique. Thanks to Larry Carlson and his effect over the years, we rant and rave over interviewing all the time. So, I made a point during the meeting that I'm keeping an eye on. I really urge strong interviewing techniques.
I just spoke to a middle school about a week ago, and they asked me about the hours on the job. And I don't think it's a 40-hour job. And there's how do you prepare? And even though we're not doing games, I think we still prepare. I think in the off-season, you're still prepared. Storylines, not throughout the league, but who are you signing? Can you get the background? Whether it's Billy Cotton, who we signed in the off-season, who may not make this team, but you know about him. The kid played at Providence. He played the AT&T Center and put up 36 points. And then you read something about what R.C. Buford said about this guy. I think you're constantly staying in touch with the game. I don't know if you can put the hours on it, but it's my job to be prepared, because if Kick says, okay, we're interviewing Marco Bellinelli, you can't go in there going, I have no idea who he is, or even to the point Bill said, you do that interview and all of a sudden you're going in a different direction. Maybe all that you learned and prepared for now becomes a different conversation, but it makes for a better interview. But I think you're constantly keeping up if you can, just because you're not on air. And you know what? There's a lot of times that you could be. I could have the greatest preparation on the sidelines, and if Tim Duncan turns his ankle, guess what? Crumple it up and use it another day. That goes back to the adjustments. But I think you're always learning. You always have to keep up with whatever you're going to do. Kick has to keep up with more than we do. It's the nature of his job, but I think we're always trying to stay as prepared as we can. Yeah, preparation is endless, and it's kind of overwhelming to start the season because guys have changed teams, you're trying to stay up on it. And once we get into it, get into a little bit of a rhythm, and we're just like the team. I wish we televised a couple of preseason games so we could kind of get our thing going a little bit. But I'm excited. We've got kind of I think it's a 4 or 5 game road trip early in November. So we spend more time together than we do with our families, with our crew, and we all get along well. But I think that'll help us kind of hit our stride a little bit sooner. And we're just lucky because the man cave is not, that's my way of life. So my wife the other night said, "What are you watching? Don't you want to watch Nashville with me?" And I was like, "It's the Celtics 76ers preseason game." She goes, "Those two teams are awful." I mean, and I said, "Oh, so what?" I said, "I'm prepping for the season." And it's like, okay. And she shut the den door and walked back out the living room. But we're just lucky that I don't look at it as a job. I know these guys don't either. We're just sports junkies that get paid for it. So it's a great deal. But if it becomes work, I quit. Yeah, right now.
I think you folks know that the NBA season is upon us, and these gentlemen are very busy, and we're very fortunate to have them take the time out to be here with us. So if you'll thank them and stop by and keep them. Thanks for being here, and I'll continue to check the last couple weeks schedule in the mail. Thanks.